The R.M.S. Titanic tragedy back in 1912 used to be the worst peacetime maritime disaster, but 7 decades later, another ship on the southeastern side of the world took that title and pushed the Titanic to the 4th place. On the night of its tragedy, the 4,000 plus casualties and missing was 4 times greater than the R.M.S. Titanic, which had 1,500 plus or 1,500 plus, and it is unknown of how many were missing, for they weren't supposed to be on that ship. Welcome to the English language series of Trivia Time, stories and fun facts with MultiJames95. If you're new to my channel, please click the subscribe button and notification bell to get updated on stories and trivia like this. What are we waiting for? Let's go see what's our topic for today. Sea travel is one of the most convenient and popular ways to travel around the Philippines due to its low fares. Those who cannot afford a plane ticket take the ship or travel by sea. The Dona Paz was one of them. But what is the history of the ship MV Dona Paz? The vessel was constructed in 1963 by Onomichi Zosen in the city of Onomichi, located in the Hiroshima Prefecture of Japan. Registered in Kagoshima, it began service in Ryukyu Kayun KK Company or RKK line as Imeyuri Maru and had a capacity of 608 people. 12 years later, it began its service in the Philippines when the ship was sold to Sulpicio Lines and renamed as Don Sulpicio, wherein it became one of its 2 flagship vessels, the other being Doña Ana, later renamed as Doña Marilyn, serving the Manila-Cebu vice versa sector. Following a fire during a Manila-Cebu voyage in 1979, wherein all 1,164 occupants were rescued, with the vessel being beached and declared a total constructive loss by underwriters, Sulpicio Lines repurchased the wreck and refurbished it before it was rechristened as the Dona Paz. With the MV Philippine Princess as the new flagship of Sulpicio Lines, serving the Manila-Cebu sector, Dona Paz operated the Manila-Tacloban vice versa sector, with the return trip to Manila having a stop in the city of Catbalogan in Samar Province. December 20, 1987, the Dona Paz began loading passengers for a 24-hour voyage to Manila in Tacloban, Leyte. It then offloaded some passengers in Catbalogan and loaded more in the same city before continuing on to Manila. These passengers looked forward to spending Christmas in the capital. The ship was supposed to carry only 1,536 passengers, but on that fateful day, as stated by survivors, 4,000 plus people were on board, which was a clear breach of safety regulations. One of the 25 survivors, now retired Philippine National Police or PNP Sergeant Lutgardo Nieto, was a 26-year-old decorated corporal of the PNP predecessor, Philippine Constabulary and National Integrated Police, who was looking forward to a family reunion in the capital. He recalls that when he was in line for boarding with other military and constabulary troops still bearing their weapons and uniforms, he noticed the ship tilted to one side and concluded that the ship was indeed crowded, but he dismisses the situation as a norm during the month of December, stating that it was unavoidable because such month was always the peak travel season and that it was nearing Christmas. The majority of the passengers were families with children. One of them was the Baksal father and daughter tandem, 44-year-old fisherman Salvador and 18-year-old student Aludia, the latter of whom had skipped her school's Christmas party to join her father on that trip for a Christmas vacation in Manila. The father and daughter were extremely shocked at the sight of an overcrowded ship with many people having little to no room to sit, lie down, or sleep, even settling on floors, the deck, and even in corridors, all crammed into one place, to which Aludia compared to ants and cockroaches. The majority of these passengers were weak and tired, while children were crying or were noisy. As the Baksals find a cot to settle to, Aludia took pity on a family with much luggage and a lot of children crammed into one cot next to hers. Meanwhile, in the kitchen and cafeteria, the situation was far worse. According to Salvador Baksal, the area became chaotic due to the dozens struggling to get food or drinks. The ship was almost low on food supply. Salvador added that the majority endured hunger as they had no choice, and that the many who had nothing to eat were the weak, the elderly, disabled, and the impatient. The Dona Paz had an official manifest of 1,493 passengers and 59 crew members. The media reported that the ones not listed on the manifest were children ranging from newborn to 4 years old, and the people who only paid their fare after boarding, which explains that during the holiday season, there were tickets being sold aboard at illegally low prices, and that the majority of the passengers were not supposed to be there. This was confirmed by survivor Pedro Sorima, a then 17-year-old youth who was among the many who boarded without tickets. Now in his 50s, Sorima stated that many passengers were not counted since they were not asked for a ticket, adding that standard boarding procedures on every transportation company state that a ticket or boarding pass must first be presented before boarding the vessel. But this was changed to anyone can just get on. Sorima's name indeed never appeared on the manifest, and the influx of passengers made the public believe that 4,000 were on board. Night fell as the ship sped at 24 kilometers per hour. The majority of the passengers settled in for the night, and that the Dona Paz was scheduled to dock in Manila by morning. Unknown to the many on board, another ship was sailing to their direction. The ship, MT Vector, was traveling to Masbate from Bataan and was no ordinary ship, but an oil tanker carrying tons of barrels of kerosene, gasoline, and other types of oil, all of which were owned by Caltex. After relieving himself, Salvador took a breath of fresh air in the ship's gangway when he noticed the Vector coming towards them. He at first thought of it as a fishing vessel due to its small size and having lots of lights. But as he noticed the ship nearing, he concluded that a collision will occur, and he flees to awaken his daughter and alert the passengers or crew. The ships collided, of which its jolt awakened the passengers. The evacuation became disorderly as there was no sound of alarm and no warnings from the crew. The Vector collided at the left side of the Dona Paz at the part where the engine room was located. Upon collision, the Vector's cargo ignited while the Dona Paz shut down and lost power. An explosion soon followed wherein flames spread rapidly. The flammable liquid from the oil barrels and fuel tanks from the Vector leaked, causing the fire to spread to the Dona Paz and even to the sea. According to survivors, passengers got down to the lower portion of the ship to get away from the flames. Others on top of the ship jumped overboard to the flaming waters as there was no time to get a life jacket, and they used luggages, suitcases, or any cargo as makeshift flotation devices. It was later revealed that the life jackets were locked in the storage room of the ship. Those who were in the flaming water swam and dived lower to avoid the fire, and only surfaced once they were far away. As soon as they found safety, they listened to the screams and cries of the remaining passengers slowly die down until everything went silent as the ship sank into the shark-infested Tablas Strait. The 24 survivors of Dona Paz and 2 from Vector swam and waded for about an hour until they were spotted by a passing ferry, the Don Claudio, which was headed that night by Iloilo native, the late Captain Melencio Barranco. The crew of Don Claudio hosted up the survivors using nets. It was on this ship that they were given first aid treatment by onboard medical personnel. It was only 16 hours after the collision that a search and rescue team was deployed, no survivor was found among the passengers and crew of either ship. Some of the badly burned and bloated corpses washed ashore on nearby provinces, which were immediately buried by its residents. An estimated number of 4,386 were killed in the accident. There were many conflicting reports of what had happened on both ships. In the case of Vector, it has been stated that the vessel was not seaworthy, had a damaged rudder which required 2 people to steer it, and its crew had fake licenses or no license at all. Other reports state that the crew were sleeping when the collision occurred. In the case of Dona Paz, according to the investigations made by the Philippine Coast Guard and Maritime Industry Authority, an unqualified apprentice was at the wheel while other officers were drinking, partying, or watching television at the crew's recreational quarters, and that the captain, Eusebio Nazareno, was watching a movie on a Betamax in his cabin. These party at the ship statements were proven or confirmed by 2 survivors, Salvador Bacsal, who heard loud music and laughter from the ship's bridge, and Lutgardo Nieto, who was informed by a fellow passenger, a soldier, of the same party with the same atmosphere of loud music and laughter, which included the captain as one of the attendees. Days after the tragedy, the bereaved and enraged kin of the survivors and the deceased headed to the offices of Sulpicio Lines and demanded an explanation and accountability to the incident. The survivors experienced survivor's guilt and post-traumatic stress disorder following the incident. According to Nieto, land or air travel is safer, and he vowed never to travel by sea despite free offers from a ship company, stating that he would never be as lucky as others if it happens again. He has since traveled by air instead of ship from Manila to Leyte and back. Shipping disasters continued to plague the nation after Dona Paz. A year later, the same company's former secondary flagship, Doña Marilyn, originally Doña Ana, a sister ship to the Dona Paz, sank off the coast of Cebu. More shipping disasters plagued Sulpicio Lines, the last being the Princess of the Stars in 2008, which led to the revocation of passenger carry license of Sulpicio Lines in 2015, leaving it as a cargo company. How old were you when you heard about Dona Paz? Were there any other lessons that may or may not have been learned from this event? Yo, MultiJames95 fam, thanks for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you wish to donate or support MultiJames95, the links to Patreon, PayPal, and Buy Me a Coffee are in the description. And please check out our next videos. I hope you will like it. See ya!